My name is Sophie Miller. I want to tell you my story, not because it's easy, but because maybe if I let the words out, I won't have to keep pretending anymore. This is not a story about grief ending or wounds healing. This is about how I am still breathing, still walking, still smiling, but not really living. I live in a small town called Willow Creek, the kind of place where you can hear the church bells from almost every street, and where the smell of fresh bread from Mrs. Langley's bakery lingers in the air long after the doors close. My house? Well, it's not much, but it's mine. A small, two-story home with a porch swing that creaks when the wind pushes it. The paint is chipped, the shutters a little crooked, but to me, it has always been perfect. The kind of place where love settles deep into the walls, where laughter echoes in the floors, where memories are sewn into the fabric of every day. Before everything, my life was ordinary, comfortably ordinary. I woke up each morning to the smell of coffee drifting up from the kitchen. Coffee brewed by Danielle Carter, the man I was supposed to marry. I'd find him leaning against the counter, messy hair still damp from the shower, wearing that worn gray t-shirt I always threatened to throw out but never did. He'd look at me with that sleepy smile that made the world feel safe, like nothing outside could touch us. We had a routine, breakfast together, him teasing me about my obsession with strawberry jam, me pretending not to notice when he stole bites from my plate, the way he'd touch my forehead gently before leaving for work, every day without fail. I didn't know back then how much those little things mattered, how much weight they carried, how much I'd ache for them when they were gone. Willow Creek isn't a loud place, but to me it was alive. The low hum of lawn mowers on Sunday mornings, the distant laughter of kids chasing each other in the park, the slow rhythmic clink of spoons stirring tea in the cafe. Danielle and I knew nearly everyone by name. Mrs. Langley, who insisted we take home extra bread rolls just in case. James, the postman who whistled every time he walked up our driveway. And in the middle of it all was us. We weren't rich, we weren't glamorous, but we had each other in that tiny corner of the world. That was more than enough. I think that's why losing him shattered me the way it did. Because he wasn't just my fiancé, he was my world. the rhythm to my days, the laughter between my breaths, the person who made even the silence feel warm. It happened 6 months ago, and I'm still not sure I've woken up from it. There's this sound I can't forget. It's not the crash, not the sirens, not even the phone call. It's the silence right after. The kind of silence that makes your chest ache because you know somewhere deep down that life has just split into before and after. But before we get there, I want to take you back to one of my favorite mornings with Danielle. It was late October. The leaves were fiery red, and the air smelled faintly of wood smoke from the chimneys down the street. I was curled up on the porch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders, watching him rake the yard. He hated raking leaves, said it was pointless. Nature just undid all your work the next day. But he still did it, muttering under his breath because he knew I loved the yard tidy. I remember the way the sun got in his hair, the way he kept glancing up at me with that lopsided grin, like he was on some joke I didn't know yet. At one point, he threw a handful of leaves at me. I shrieked, pretending to be mad, but my laughter gave me away. That's the thing about Danielle. He had a way of making the smallest moments feel like they belonged in some storybook. Our engagement was like that too. No grand gestures, no public displays, just us, sitting on the couch one rainy evening, his hand fiddling nervously with the ring box in his pocket. He didn't even get down on one knee. He just looked at me, eyes soft, and said, "Let's make this forever, Soph." And of course, I said yes, not because of the ring, but because there was no version of my life where I didn't want him in it. We were 3 months away from the wedding when it happened. 3 months from standing in front of our friends and family, from saying woes we already lived by every day. The day started like any other. I'd made blueberry pancakes, burned the first batch, as usual. He teased me about it, stole the less burnt ones, and touched my cheek softly before heading out the door. It was a Thursday, and Thursdays were always quiet for me. I'd planned to clean the house, maybe start looking at honeymoon ideas. We hadn't decided on a destination yet. Somewhere warm, maybe somewhere with a beach where the waves sounded like laughter. I had no idea that by that evening I'd be standing in the sterile hallway of St. Mary's Hospital, my hands trembling so hard I couldn't hold my phone. My voice breaking as a stranger in a uniform told me that Danielle Carter, my Danielle, had been killed instantly by a drunk driver who didn't even see the red light. I remember sitting there in that hospital hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead, the tile floor too shiny, too clean for what had just happened. There was a coffee vending machine down the hall, humming quietly like it was part of some other world where people still bought coffee at 8 p.m. because they were just tired from work, not from loss. The police officer kept talking. I don't remember his name, just that his voice sounded muffled, like I was underwater. Something about the intersection, something about how there was nothing anyone could have done. I wanted to scream that there was something, that there had to be something. Someone could have stopped him from driving. Someone could have pulled Danielle back from the street. Someone could have, but no one did. The nurse asked if I wanted to see him. I said yes, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. What they don't tell you is that seeing someone you love after they are gone doesn't feel like closure. It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff and realizing the ground beneath you isn't ground at all. It's air. And you are already falling. I walked into the room, and there he was, still, too still. His hair was a little messy, like he'd just been outside. His hands were resting by his sides, and all I could think was how they'd never reach for me again. I touched his cheek, expecting warmth, but it was cold. And that's when the truth slammed into me. The man I had coffee with that morning wasn't here anymore. This was just the shell. My knees buckled. The nurse caught me before I hit the floor. I don't remember leaving the hospital. I don't remember unlocking the front door. But I do remember walking into our living room and seeing his jacket hanging on the hook, his shoes by the door, and that's when I broke. Not the quiet tears I'd been holding back, the ugly, heaving sobs that ripped through me until my throat was raw and my chest hurt. I grabbed his jacket and buried my face in it, desperate for a trace of his cologne, terrified it would fade. The next few days blurred into one another. People came by with casseroles, with flowers, with awkward hugs that lasted too long. Everyone kept saying the same thing. You are so strong. You are handling this so well. I am proud of you. They didn't see me at night, curled up on his side of the bed, clutching my phone like maybe he'd call. They didn't see me sitting in the grocery store aisle, staring at his favorite cereal like I'd forgotten he'd never eat it again. I kept smiling, nodding, thanking them, pretending. Because if I let myself stop pretending even for a second, I'd have to face the truth. Danielle was gone, and I was still here. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time slipped through my fingers like sand, but everything else stood still. Morning came, and with it the sound of the alarm clock. That same one Danielle had hated because it was too loud, too harsh to wake up to. I reached over, half expecting his hand to brush mine in the dark, but there was nothing, just the cold side of the bed. The coffee maker hissed and bubbled in the kitchen. I made 2 cups out of habit, one for me and one for Danielle, the way he liked it, strong and black, no sugar. I sat alone at the table, stirring my cup slowly, listening to the drip, drip, drip of the coffee. The silence screamed louder than any sound ever could. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, whispering secrets that no one wanted to hear. The cereal box sat unopened on the counter, his favorite brand, the one with the red lettering. I'd look at it every morning and remember the way he'd sneak a handful before breakfast, smiling like he'd gotten away with something. I went to the grocery store, wandering the aisles like a lost soul, searching for something to fill the void. But nothing could fill it. Every room in the apartment echoed with his absence. The couch where we'd curl up for movie nights felt too wide, too empty. The kitchen table where we'd laugh and plan trips and dreams was just a surface now, cold, hard, unfeeling. I'd find myself talking to him sometimes, whispering words into the air like maybe they'd reach him somewhere beyond. Danielle, I don't know how to do this. Danielle, I miss you. But the only answer was silence. Sleep became a stranger. Nights stretched endlessly, long, dark tunnels with no light at the end. I'd lie awake, heart pounding, waiting for a call, a text, a sign, but nothing came. The world moved on around me, but I was frozen, a ghost in my own life. I watched the sun set every evening from our window, painting the sky with colors he loved. And every night I prayed, not for him to come back, but for the strength to keep breathing when every breath felt like a betrayal. The days kept coming heavy and gray, but something inside me started to shift. It wasn't a sudden sunrise or a miracle moment. It was a quiet decision. One morning, I woke up and didn't reach for his side of the bed. I stayed in mine. I made coffee for just one. I looked out the window longer than usual, watching the sky change colors, the soft blues bleeding into pinks and golds. I found myself holding his jacket again. But this time, instead of burying my face in it, I folded it carefully and placed it in the back of the closet. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I needed space. Space to breathe, space to live. I started to talk to people again, not just the polite smiles or the empty, "How are you?" but real conversations. Slowly, I let the walls down brick by brick. I joined a support group, a circle of strangers who understood this kind of pain in ways words can't explain. We shared stories, tears, and sometimes laughter. Fragile, shaky laughter that felt like hope. One afternoon, I sat in the park where Danielle and I had once walked, the sun warm on my face. A breeze stirred the leaves and I closed my eyes. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the crushing weight of absence. I felt a quiet presence, not his, but something like grace. I don't know what the future holds. Some days will still be unbearable. Some nights will still be long. But I know now I am still here. And with each breath, each small step, I am learning to live again.